my name's Cody, and thanks for joining me with Codester's 3D printing. Today we will be talking about the Aibecy CR-10 S5 high precision 3D printer. Features about this product is it's got a 500mm by 500mm by 500mm build plate, which is absolutely massive. It has the runout detection feature, high printing accuracy, resume printing functions, and support offline printing and alloy frame. The printer itself is based off of the well-renowned Creality Cr-10 S5. As you can see, it's about the size of my chest. I just received it in the mail, so we're going to go ahead and open it up and start assembling it. This package is absolutely enormous. And this is actually the first 3D printer that I have bought, so I'm kind of anxious to get it up and get it going. I tried to look around for some reviews online, and I couldn't find any before I bought it, so here we are today. And again, this thing is just absolutely massive. It actually weighs about 50 pounds with the package and all. So we're going to go ahead and move some of this stuff, get it out of the way. Try not to spill out. And, yep, I opened it upside down, I believe. Yep, upside down. So we're going to try this. This also has the heated bed feature, which is excellent if you are going to be trying to print ABS and other high temperature filaments. Now, I purchased this printer off of eBay for right around $600 with free shipping. There we go, that's a little better. And just, wow, it's massive. So here, it does seem nice and secure, and there's a lot of foam around it. All of it's about this thick. So I don't think damage is going to be a problem, at least on arrival. Here's probably the actual build plate. Wow. This thing's huge. Wow. There we go. Go ahead and take this here. Alright. Next layer. It's really like opening holiday presents. Here's the racing stripes that go around the sides of the frame. A whole bunch of cords that are attached to the actual unit itself. Just a regular, almost standard looking type of 3D printer. control module, that is. And while I'm at it, if you can take a look, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it, but inside there's a switch that says 220 or 230 and 115 volts, and it came out of that package just with the 230 setting. So if you're in the US, you will want to change that before you even get started. There we go. Changed. Okay. And again, here's that frame. I'm not sure if it's being cut off or not. But it should sit here kind of like so. And you got your printer head up here. And it seems pretty stable overall, at least secure. It's not like wobbly, even moving it around without it being secured or bolted to anything. And you gotta love the box of goodies, all the little parts and stuff that are going to be sent with it to actually assemble this monster. In case any of you guys are wondering, this is my first YouTube video, so I am thrilled to have you guys be my first fans. Ooh, standard power cord. That's actually kind of unusual to get. It plugs in the back of the module right here. Most of the time, from what I read on the internet, there has been multiple complaints about 3D printers being sent with the wrong power adapter. And we just have a USB to an old Android cord. And we have a little toolkit, zip ties, wrenches, Allen keys, so on. Instruction manual, it looks to be. Parts written in a few different languages, but it does have English on there for those of you that are wondering. Let's kind of see if I can skim over this real quick. No, it's all different. Following. And they give you a quick start guide. I'd say that's pretty nice of them. Also in English. Again, really nice considering. And it actually has in here for software installation that it's the Creality Cr-10 for add printer options for Creality. See a little mark right about here, which goes to show that even being a clone, it's or rebranded or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, it's pretty close to Creality. Here's your little filament tube. Go to them for the head. Spatula, part normal. Part of your filament reel. They give you a little bit of filament, some PLA 1.75mm white, nice of them. Don't know how far it'll go. Seems to be a decent amount. So we have our filament tubes, a spatula. We have a USB. Hang on to this. Don't throw it away. It's important. You need to use it to transfer your files from your computer to the actual printer module itself. And this looks to be the Filament Sensor. Seeing as I have not put one of these together before, that would probably be my closest guess. And got a little arrow showing which way to go for it to go. Like I said, you got part of the filament mounting bracket and that little USB that I was talking about. And that's actually, you got your T brackets to hold part of the frame, to hold the upper frame to the Z axis, I believe. And it looks like some printer bed tape, which again, all included in the box. And now we're down to nothing. So we will get started on trying to assemble, which is going to be a blast. To do our best not to break anything before we even get to try it out. So far, everything seems pretty straightforward, other than this bundle of wires, which I'm hoping to sort through here shortly. Okay. So now I want to try to find out where, and in a typical fashion, as to where this mounts to the bed without reading the directions, because who really wants to read the directions? See exactly how long this takes to put together, especially for a novice like myself. A novice is being extremely generous. As I said earlier, I haven't put one of these together before. So, where do those T brackets go? Okay, here they are. Here's the T brackets. And you got your stopper switch. Like I said, I am curious. Here I am looking like a goofball. You can definitely tell I have not assembled one of these before. But before we begin assembling, I actually would like to put these racing stripes, as we can call them, on here before, because it looks like when you mount your y-axis this way to your z-axis, it'll cover up part of the track where it actually goes. So where the this x-axis is here, you have to feed that rubber stripe up underneath it. It doesn't seem to be too awful hard to do, but it's just one other thing that you want to be mindful of. Pull. One side down, most of the way down. Other side down. And again with this other side, you have to be mindful of this because it still goes under the x-axis, and it looks like on this trail, the one that I'm not doing now, there's a screw up under here that is actually in the way that you cannot get this rubber up underneath there. But we shall give it a shot again. And I know some experienced guy out here, like Maker's Muse, is actually one of the people that I have been looking up on YouTube and watching a lot of his videos. And he had a problem with, I believe it was the CR-10 S, just the standard S one. And he had a problem with the same screw location. He was able to move it and work around and get it to fit properly. Alright, I'm going to leave a little bit there, so if I can adjust this axis, I should be able to pull it up enough to where it'll fit without a problem. To again, try not to break anything. And it wasn't, you had to push on it a little bit, but you shouldn't have to force it and jerk on it and shove on it. Again, be extremely careful. Also, it looks like there's the x-axis stopper switch is right here, and the rubber almost goes up directly to it, and it looks like if you're inexperienced or you're just not paying attention, you could actually put the rubber on the switch and effectively keep the switch activated at all times, and you would have some sort of malfunction just to where it wouldn't move on that particular axis until it were to be figured out that something was done wrong. More anxious to get the thing together and get this puppy rolling. So now that we've got this, going to take a look at those instructions. Let's see. And it looks like from here that you can see this switch right here, the one that I was talking about for your y-axis, because the motor's on the back, which is facing forward to us. So when you turn it, or when you look at it like that, it would be on this side. So we're now going to try and put this limiter switch over here, which I'm not 110% sure. And we need to open up our little bag of tools and get out the Allen wrench. And they give you two different ones. Or no, I'm sorry. They give you 1, 2, 3. They give you quite a few actually. I wasn't quite aware that there was this many. Nevertheless, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different Allen keys. And it looks like this one is the biggest for these. Now, the second biggest is the one that actually fits inside. However, we will look at the instructions again, and it looks like this side needs to be facing this way. So when this axis comes down, it's going to hit this switch. Well, this is a little bit interesting. It'll actually fit down in there, which, you know, it's supposed to do this, but you, I guess you don't. So you don't have to keep that in mind, guys. You don't have to take these screws all the way out and take those nuts on the back. You don't have to take those off. They will just fit in the slot. So we will put this one back on. And since there's one in there already, we will try to move it up. And yes, got it out. So we're going to put that back in here. Now it looks like actually, I'm not sure. These wires are labeled on what axes. Not exactly for sure. How to say that? Okay. Sure. Y-axis. This is this is great. Trying to assemble one, and a big one at that, for the first time. Only having a modest idea of what you're doing. Am I freaking out about it yet? No. However, I do think I might have wanted to watch some more YouTube videos before doing this. But we will go back to the instructions. Falling on the floor. Okay. Assembly. Attach the Z couplers. Okay, those already come pre-attached, it looks. Screw in the 2 fastener bolts from the bottom. So, there's actually 2 screw holes underneath here on either side of this line. And there's 2 screw holes where screws go up into this down here. And now I have to figure out exactly what pieces go there. And it doesn't look. It says barrel screws. There's a few here, and it looks to be the longest ones. These guys is what it looks to be. So we're going to have to take this back off for a moment. Just a little bit off to where the hole, that screw can go up through the bottom of the Z plate, or the Z axis, and you have to do that to all of these tracks. And I am trying to about as quick as I can. And I am having some difficulty, but some is to be expected. You know, you're putting something new together, something that you have no experience doing. You know, and I'm sure there's professionals out there, somebody out here that's watching this that might look at this and say, I'm going the hard way around. And truthfully, I probably am. But, like I said, you have to, gotta learn somehow. Which is why I'm going to try and edit this video as little as possible to show you kind of the struggles that I went through. Which, like I said, it seems pretty minuscule right now. And if I only mess up on this part right here, I'll take that. Okay. So, I'll show you right here. This is what I had to go back and undo. And the screws, these screws go up through the bottom into your axis right here. And again, same thing with this bottom one over here. You had to cut those out. Which wasn't too big of a deal. So now I'm going to have to try and balance this and do that all at the same time. Something I do need to check before I continue is that little instructions sheet to make sure that this is facing the right way. And as of right now, how you see it is actually the wrong way. The motor is supposed to be in the back. So all I need to do right now is actually flip this around and I'll be facing the correct way. Sounds easy enough. Turn this over here to expose those holes. I'm going to try to be careful not to cross thread these, as this entire frame is aluminum, and it doesn't take too much pressure for aluminum to be stripped. So if it doesn't start just with your fingers and you try to torque down on it, that's probably a sign that you need to take a minute just to ensure that you're not getting ready to cross thread your printer. So it is kind of nice because they give you a two-sided Allen key. One lets you get it at an angle, which is nice. And the other side is just a regular L. And it does fit relatively snug. Those screws fit snug in the channel. Now I have to get the bottom ones. I it's actually really nice to have the one that moves a little bit as opposed to the just L-shaped one. Simply because you have it flat on the surface and you can actually tilt it up a little bit so you can get some leverage on it without having to twist your hand. And again, like I said, you just need to make sure that these are tight, but not crank them down. Variations for like a point that connects from the Z-axis up to the Y-axis to help with sturdiness. I'm getting ready to turn it over and see just with these bottom bolts and just see how sturdy it is. And I mean, even with just those 4 bolts holding it right here and right here, it's pretty sturdy, and that's without these T-brackets. So now we're going to try not to break it again for one thing, or break it. We shall go back to the instructions, and actually it doesn't. They do have a little section on the left side. So it says that the limiter switch for this axis needs to be on the left hand side, and seeing as this is on I'm facing frontward on this and you're facing from the back, it'll be on this side. Sure that we have our Y-axis connector connected before we mount this, because it looks almost impossible to try to get to that switch without it being taken out. It's fun trying to get all these little things lined up, and actually just that quick I'll have to find it. Oh, there it is. One of the screws to come out that I'd taken out earlier. That mount this little thing to here. They give you a couple little tools with it. Oh man. And just that quick, lost the screw. So that's no good. So we gotta go back in. Take it back out and get it. Now we will put it back in, and hopefully this time these will actually stay put. Okay, where's that one? And you gotta love when you lose your screw. And it's not anywhere to be found. Great. There it is. no affiliation with the brand that this 3D printer has been purchased from, or the buyer even off of eBay. And I feel that that's important because I'm not trying to sell anybody on something, and I feel just with that information that it'll be a little bit more honest, because I have no affiliates whatsoever, and this is my first YouTube video, like I mentioned before. So we have got that together now, which is nice. So I'm going to show you this one. So now I'm going to show you what I just put together. This little L bracket right here, this little limiter switch. And you have to get these tiny screws. There's a little flange nut that fits down inside this groove right here. This groove, you can see it right here. And to prove my point about this machine just being a clone of what Creality has made, is this right here on the stepper motor, I believe is what it's called. But the motor itself has Creality written on it. So I do believe you can save $100+. We'll see if this side has it. And it's actually underneath on the back side, back in here. Creality's on it again. And you can see it even right here on part of the molding, which I think is pretty cool, because you get the same great quality that Creality is known for without having to pay quite as much. Only time will tell if it's exactly the same, but at this point I'm pretty optimistic that this is going to be a great piece of equipment. So we have the one L bracket over there. Now we have to find our secondary L bracket, which is around here somewhere underneath the quick start guide, which kind of figures it just hides it. So now this is the right side, and this is kind of tough to get undone because you're going to need to have some movement when you place this in that groove, and it seems pretty stuck as is. There we go. Let's see if we can get the other one. Oh, that one's not too bad. And you got this one. Okay, now this T bracket goes on this side facing this way, and again, these things go down inside the slots on the side of this down here. The only difference between this one and the other side is that limiter switch. It looks like they need to be loosened up. And these can't be taut before putting them in, because they do need to be able to move freely to go down inside that channel to guide it. I was kind of nervous about buying the off-brand version of the Creality, the Aibecy, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm not 100%. But I am pleasantly surprised that you see Creality stamps all over this machine. Okay, now I got that down on there, now I can tighten it up. Okay. And again, you want to make sure that they're taut, that you don't want to over tighten them. For those of you that have a problem with over tightening things, it would help if you grab it by the pinky finger. By your pinky finger, and twist the wrench around on the outside edge. This way you can actually feel a little bit better how much tension you're actually putting on these screws. It looks to be that all the supports this together, and I mean this thing is pretty sturdy. I mean, you can hear it. As I said before, it was 50 pounds just to have it shipped here. So now we are going to begin to connect the connectors to the stepper motors. And you got 1, 2, 3, another limiter switch down here, 4, and it looks like I am missing one other one, and it's probably up here. Exactly, right here. 5, which is your other limiter switch. So we will begin doing that. Like I said, these are actually labeled. Take this Y switch, because I did plug it in the wrong one. I'm going to have to try to take it out, which actually that was a lot easier than originally anticipated. So here's the Z one. And each one has two different things, and the smaller of the two connectors goes to the limiter switches. Like I said a little bit earlier in the video, it's kind of difficult to get to these switches, or especially this one, the Z axis seems to be really difficult to get to, and it's one of those things that you really want to put in before mounting. But I did just get it, which I am happy about. But as these come off here, you can see that they're linked in two different cords. You have the smaller of the two cords, and you have the bigger, wider one. And that is presumed to go to the Z stepper motor. Sorry, the Z stepper motor. Which that's upside down, I think. Okay. Looks to be right. Okay. So now we will go to the other side. And this is the Y. Go back here, and the Y is the axis that makes the bed shift this way. So the motor control is on the back of the motor. That's where the plug is anyway. So we we always want to try to make sure that that's securely in there. And you'll feel, when you push this in, you'll feel just a tiny little pop, but you don't want to overstrain it. And the limiter switch on this one is right next to it on this little access panel, and you can actually move the plate out of the way a little bit, and there's your limiter switch. So again, you push it in, you feel a little pop, just to kind of make sure that it's secure. Here is a 3-lead one, and this is for your X, which is the side-to-side motion, which is up here. So we have to move all of this out of the way. So like I was saying, we have to take these 3 leads and go up here to our X-axis, and one of them goes here, plugs in right there. This is the smaller one, so it goes into our limiter switch, which is inside here. And it's actually in here. So if you have big fingers, you can always take these little screws out and get in there a little bit easier, but it doesn't look to be too hard. But again, looks can be deceiving at times. We'll try switching hands. See if I can get it a little bit better this way. And there we go. That's got a lot to do with being right-handed. Okay. Now we just have this lead, which is still the X-axis, which I am still not 100% sure where this one goes, since as the other ones only had 2 leads. So go to the motors, to the limiter switch, put here, and then you have this one still. And this one actually goes under here. Here we go. Right up underneath the motor. So that's E. Extruder Stepper. So the Extruder Stepper is right here, is what they're referring to it as. So this E is for the Extruder Stepper. Again, this one goes up underneath. It goes here. Goes up underneath there like that. And again, it clicked just fine. These wires are kind of loose, so they do give you a few zip ties. I would recommend using them just to make sure that it doesn't get caught up. Kind of seen it for a second. Anyway, so like I said, for the filament sensor, so now we have to find out exactly where that piece pops. So it looks right here. Again, more Creality stamping on it. But something else that seems to be troubling me is I'm not 100% on where to put this. And it doesn't even look to have any section on here on where or how to put the filament sensor, and which is kind of troubling. For myself, seeing as I have not done this. And in fact, it doesn't even look to have the filament sensor on here, which is a note within itself. Alright, so we've got most all of the connectors for the printer itself connected, except the filament sensor. This one actually looks to be wireless or non-mechanical. I'm not exactly sure how to put it together. This is on the Z-axis, so I guess I did miss one of the motors, and it's probably on the far side over here. And that's exactly what it was. It was over here on the far side. Figure out how to hook up the filament sensor, filament detector, and it actually seems to be secured on there pretty good. And I mention that because it looks like that there is a spot to hook another wire up, except that this wire right here is attached. Like, it's extremely hard to pull apart, and I am fearful of breaking it. So with that being said, at this moment I think I am going to move on without the filament sensor. So now I'm actually going to hook the heater, the heated bed, up to the control box itself. It's just a simple push in and you screw it down. Pretty easy. And then you have the other one for the actual printer head motor, and it's got multiple different plugs, and the heated bed only has 4 different plugs, so you can easily tell them apart once you look at it. They are not interchangeable, so this one for the bed has to go to the bottom plug on the module. And it is notched, apparently. For the extruder head, there is a mini notch, or half a moon shape almost, on the top section of it, to where you have to line it up before it will actually slide down in. Okay, so those two are connected. Now let's assemble the spool holder, or the filament holder. So it looks like you just screw these little thumb screws down onto the top of it. Seems pretty straightforward. Alright, that's this apparently unscrews from both sides. So we stick it through, screw it on. Then you can take your filament and put on there. Not exactly sure at this point which way it goes, so we'll just put it on here for now. So you can see the top of where the filament gets pulled in at. Right there. Let's see where it goes in the side. Here. This little hole. That's where it gets fed through at. So it would be my presumption that the filament sensor would go somewhere here or somewhere around here somewhere. I truly wish that they had a better manual. I mean, this one's not too awful bad, but when you include extra components to things, you know, those should obviously be included in those instructions for people like myself and probably the people that are viewing this. And it doesn't even look like there's anywhere really to mount this, which is even kind of more puzzling. Okay guys, this is the fun part. I'm actually trying to level the bed, just a simple O'Reilly's card to fit up underneath the extruder head in between the bed and the extruder itself. Yeah, I know, it's the perfect measuring device. So what I have done is I had a problem trying to get the bed level. So I have moved the Z-axis up 2 millimeters. This way there should be plenty of room throughout the entire bed to get this thing level. Should go to next step. This way we get this other side corner. And we will adjust it down. Okay, and just like that, we're at roughly the same tolerance as over there on that side, which is great news. So we will go back under prepare, and we will do auto bed. We will go to the next step. Okay, so there's a lot of extra room in here now. So we will loosen the bed up to bring it up a little bit. This way it's a little closer to the extruder. And just like that, you have the same tolerance on 3 of the 4 corners. But now we will go back, should go back to this home position, or the center part of the bed. It's pretty well the same. pretty much the same. And the reason why, again, that I stress this so much is without a level bed, your entire print is going to be off in some form or fashion. Okay, I think we're ready to do the first print. So after all that, the printer's most of the way together, bed's leveled, we're going to go ahead and do a test print sometime here in the near future. Thanks for watching Coasters 3D Printing.